is a classic.
Is the giant statue of yourself also a classic, or?
Okay, let's just rip the band-aid off. Easily one of the biggest complaints of Western Energy was how it handled Stryker, the badass assassin, the reaper of wrath, beater of wives, and ruiner of Moxie's self-esteem. Stryker was a fan favorite, one people waited 2 years to see again, only for us to have to share him with the vet.
So, yeah, nice weather we're having, huh?
It was not a vibe, but between a lack of tension, dick jokes, and Stolas' almost dead body, fans were left a little ticked at just the direction Stryker was taken. As out of the entire roster of villains, none of them were a menace quite like Stryker. So for him to come back with jokes, yeah, it rubbed some people the wrong way. Just like the apparent hypocrisy of Stryker talking a big game about killing royalty, only for him to be working for one. It was a lot, as the only casualties Stryker collected were headcanons. But personally, I don't think Stryker was as ruined by this episode as some other people. As yes, the dick joke feels like a Chaz bit, but on the whole, I feel like Stryker's characterization was way more consistent than some people are giving him credit for. This episode's got problems, but it's more about how Stryker was used than how they changed Stryker as a character. So let's dig into who Stryker is, what he was set up to be, and how Western Energy changed him for the better and for worse.
I'm better at other things, like singing.
I'd like to take this opportunity to sing a quick song I wrote just now about me winning.
What the fuck?
Okay, first thing we gotta keep in mind is that Stryker has always been funny. Yes, he's dangerous, with him being one of the first times in the show where violence is treated as an actually horrific thing, instead of a gag or just spectacular. The show has always been using him to convey humor. The difference being that in Harvest Moon, he's not the butt of the joke. Moxie is.
Moxie, go fuck yourself.
Harvest is all about Moxie meeting Millie's parents and struggling with feelings of inadequacy. He's not the country tough manly man that is expected of Wrath, and Moxie desperately wants Millie's parents to like him. He wants to like himself, but making this even harder is how Stryker is outshining him at every opportunity. Stryker is everything Moxie is trying to be in this episode. Aggressive, physically powerful, country tough, and tall. The majority of this episode is Moxie getting clowned on, as Stryker's just better than him at everything. This has the effect of letting the audience buy into Stryker's machismo, that he really is that cool, with his turn into villainy only making him sexier, as he defeated the M&Ms despite Millie going feral, goes toe-to-toe with Blitz, gives one hell of a sales pitch that the two of them should ditch the imps and start killing upper-class demons, starting with Stolas. He doesn't win in the end, and Stryker is forced to run away, but we were set up to love his ass, with the cowboy bounty hunter aesthetic and Norman Reedus' voice just tying it all together. Then Western Energy happened, and suddenly Stryker isn't setting up the joke at someone else's expense, it's at his.
Seems a bit cliche, doesn't it?
Is a classic.
Which is fine. Helluva Boss is built around mixing comedy, violence, and sincerity. It's fitting that Stolas is making jokes at Stryker, as Stryker's revenge fantasy didn't involve him getting called a bitch to his face, poking holes at the mystique that he is desperately trying to maintain. And you know what? He's right, as it's not enough that he dresses and fights like a cowboy. Stryker has to have all the merch. He's gotta have the train tracks, the neon cacti. He converted his old wagon into a bedroom and attached a neon sign to call it Stryker's Saloon. This man is trying so hard to be a cowboy that it feels like an act. And mind you, he's the only fucking guy who dresses like this. Everyone else we saw in Wrath is country themed, yes, but they still dress in a distinctly modern sense. Stryker, meanwhile, dresses like he just robbed Party City. This is something that we just let slide in his first appearance, and we just ended up buying into the image that he was selling, only for us to find out that the person beneath it wasn't nearly as cool as he pretended to be. In fact, taken all together, it's kind of sad, which I do feel like is part of the point that the show is trying to lead you to. Stryker, for all his posturing and paraphernalia, is kind of a loser. He's a narcissistic jackass who is overly in love with himself, and what would be better shorthand for this than singing a song just singing his own praises? Well, it'd be commissioning a giant statue of yourself for your man cave with a fully erect dong. It's weird, it's sad, but it perfectly encapsulates who Stryker actually is. As you look at his weird evil lair, you hear his theme song, and you still can buy into him being cool. One look at that rock hard package though, and his street cred just plummets, with the episode going even further to deconstruct the noble motivations he claims to have.
And some of us have everything we care about taken away by fuckers like you. Yes, ma'am.
Glorious.
Stryker in his first episode gave a great sales pitch to Blitz about why they should team up, pointing out how Hell as a society is very much stacked against imps. They are effectively at the bottom of Hell's social ladder. They are treated as servants, hicks, or literal pets. The fact that Blitz is running his own killing business is considered exceptional, as so few imps ever get this far. Stryker is arguing that Blitz and him should team up, kill Stolas, who treats Blitz like a plaything, which he kinda did, then take their services and start killing the other upper rank demons like Overlords and Goetia. This is a really cool concept for a character, as it makes explicit a lot of the classism and racism that Helluva has been implying through its world building. This is even reaffirmed in Western Energy when some random kid calls Blitz a slur, showing just how casual the racism is in Hell.
The fuck did you just call me?
It's not polite to call them that to their face, honey. Wait until we're in the car.
Stryker claims to be in part motivated by how imps and specifically the denizens of Wrath are oppressed and mistreated. You would see this as part of the reason why he doubles down so hard on looking like he's from Wrath. Is that country shit is specifically stereotyped as being from there. They're made fun of it for it, so he leans into it. But his vendetta against the nobility, how they talk over those that they deem lesser, live easy lives while the rest are forced to fight for scraps.
I don't have to listen to your bullshit. All you royals ever do is try to talk over us.
Yeah, in spite of having this implied tragic backstory, when you look at Stryker's action and language, it becomes obvious that he's just using his past as an excuse to hurt others, using how he was allegedly mistreated to torture Stolas for his own amusement. Despite Stolas having no personal connection to Stryker that we know of, his only crime is being born filthy rich, but that's enough for Stryker to mutilate him, trying to break him physically and mentally. However, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for the fact that he is working for a different royal asshole. Stryker is a giant hypocrite, and we've always known that about him. For all his talk about killing overlords, he is still fully subservient to the people he resents, giving up on killing Stolas the second Stella calls off the hit, proving that the man isn't a revolutionary, he isn't the Punisher. There's nothing noble or meaningful to his actions no matter how much he rants about his backstory. Stryker is just a hired gun. A highly dangerous one, yes, but he's not important. He's not exceptional, which is Stryker's biggest hypocrisy. As for as much Stryker talks about how much the Goetia look down on people like him, Stryker is just as guilty of this.
Blitz, come on. You know the two of us are superior than most of our kind.
See, that's a line that tips his hands about just how full of shit Stryker actually is. He doesn't think that all imps are oppressed or held back from their full potential. Stryker agrees with the money. He thinks that imps are lesser, but he sees himself as being one of the select few who are able to rise above his station, that he is an exception. Stryker thinks more like the people he claims to hate than the people he actually belongs to. Stryker spent his whole first episode clowning on Moxie for being lesser than him, just out of pocket. Moxie didn't do anything, he didn't say nothing to piss off Stryker. He was just there, and Stryker took that as a personal offense, even going so far as to refer to Moxie as vermin, which isn't that far off from the fire toad comment the child threw at Blitz. Stryker looks down on and belittles imps just as much as the Goetia do. The man is dealing with some serious self-hatred issues, so this isn't bad or inconsistent writing. This dissonance, him working for Stella, is something a lot of real-life people deal with. I think it's probably the most interesting part of his character. However, for all the interesting theory crafting we could do about Stryker's backstory, about how Paimon definitely nuked his village and he lost everything, we're still left with a more personal problem in just how the show handles Stryker. And that's, was this worth it? As everyone's different, so everyone has to make their own judgment call if they enjoyed Stryker being a big intimidating presence versus the humor the show utilizes to poke holes in the persona he's crafted. Everyone's personal tastes are different, and I get the appeal of how in a show where pretty much everyone is funny, having that one character who's played a bit more seriously could be a nice contrast. So if you start making fun of him too, that factor is diminished and he kind of becomes like everyone else. But again, that is personal preference. For me, I'm okay with poking fun at Stryker in Western Energy. As a character, I think he is very consistent from one episode to the next. My real issue is just how the episode is a bit over-ambitious for all the things it's trying to do, leading to it being sloppy in places, with the tonal whiplash taking away more than it adds, in my opinion. As yes, the episode does want to keep the Stolas kidnapping a bit more relaxed to show just how overconfident Stolas is. And yes, we do have cutaways to Blitz thinking Stolas can't get hurt, so he allows himself to dick around at the hospital. But the execution isn't as clean as I think it needed to be, with Stryker's character being the one who takes the biggest hit because of it, going from intimidating to jokey depending on what the situation needs. Most of it I think works, But there are moments where I pause and question if this was the best choice. Like the dick statue. Great for showing how cringe Stryker actually is. We just got done dealing with a different sharp-toothed villain obsessed with having a big dick, so to have another does make it feel repetitive, and it's not really funny enough for me to balance out just how dorky this makes Stryker look. Same with his new theme song. Yeah, it's cool, it's fun. As yes, you just had Stryker built up to be so cool, he just had the theme song, he just had all the trains and shit. But then we just halt the scene to have this one long drawn-out joke. For some people, this might be their favorite bits, but I'm not loving it. Stryker suffers the same problem that the rest of the episode suffers from. He's whipping from comedic to dangerous depending on whatever the current scene needs. Which could be fine, but I don't feel like the episode really builds to any coherent point overall. If it wanted to take off some of Stryker's mystique, cool, it accomplished that. But then proceeds to have him torture Stolas and have a badass fight where we're reminded, oh yeah, he is that cool. But then we got shit like this.
Oh yeah, he's Stryker, he's Stryker.
Shut the fuck up!
With the episode not giving any real conclusion on how you're supposed to feel about Stryker moving forward. It's fun in the moment, but I'm not sure what the exact takeaway is supposed to be, which is kind of how I feel about Western Energy overall. Fun for sure, but it's all over the place, and I feel like I can kind of see what they're going for, but the execution didn't win me over. So, for the moment, I don't think what we lost to get there was worth it. I still love Stryker. He might be my second favorite villain in the entire show, but how the show handles him going forward is going to make or break him for me. This episode didn't ruin Stryker, and there's a bunch of interesting new angles that they could take him, but whether or not it'll be more entertaining than when he was just a menace, that we're gonna have to wait and see.
No singing, just a yes or no, please.
Alright, that's all for now. Like and share the video if you're so inclined. Even subscribe to my channel if you're really feeling up to it. But please, have a good one. You've all been great. Peace out.